All right, so first of all, I just want to do a quick acknowledgement. I am here in Tucson on the lands of the Pasquayaqui and the Tohono O'odham folks. Please just take a moment to acknowledge where you are and what lands you are on today. And we'll give a moment for that. And I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Catherine, in order to give us some information about the Women's Foundation. And just for continuity purposes, is there anyone that would appreciate to have a real-time translation in Spanish? Just give us a quick thumbs up or mark it in the chat to let us know that. All right. With that, I will go ahead and pass it over to Catherine.
Great, thank you, Lacey. So I'm Catherine. I'm here with the Women's Foundation. I'm so pleased to be here with everyone. Good to see some familiar faces and some new faces. We're really excited for this new fund and for the discussion today and giving you an opportunity to ask questions and speak with each other. So the Women's Foundation has been serving Southern Arizona communities for the last 30 years. Our two founders identified the need for and started a scholarship fund, which grew to become an organization serving women and girls across Southern Arizona. We collaborate to increase women and girls' income and assets and create lasting change through our research, advocacy, grant making, and leadership development. Our research informs really everything that we do. It informs programs that we pilot and incubate and learn from, and that runs alongside our advocacy work where we advocate for legislative change at the state capitol. We amplify women's voices through leadership development, providing women with the networks, the tools, and opportunities to be leaders in their areas of expertise, to further their own education and social capital, and to advance their own trajectory, and to be an advocate in their own right in and for their own spheres of influence. The Women's Foundation is dedicated to learning and listening and walking alongside our grantee partners. We want to be intentional, responsive, and are committed to building relationships through our grant making. With her leadership, Dr. Amalia Luxardo, our current CEO, has grown the organization's budget, our staff, and reach in the last few years. We're really excited for this new statewide funding opportunity and we really see it as our way of meeting the critically underfunded needs of organizations, especially led by women of color. So really pleased to be here and happy to answer questions with Lacey later in the Q&A. So I'll turn it back to her.
Thank you, Catherine. All right. So as I said, I've been working with the Women's Foundation of Southern Arizona for the last few months to bring this together. And this is where this started. This fund is really focused on sustainable growth of organizations that are led by and serving women and girls of color in our state. This is a little bit of information that we got from the Ms. Foundation earlier this year in their Pocket Change report. It's on how women and girls of color do more with less, is that there's approximately $5.48 per person donated for women and girls of color in the US. And as we know, there are millions of dollars given philanthropically annually, and we know that these are communities that have traditionally been looked over, marginalized, and harmed by a number of different systems. So this fund is really focused on making sure that those people, those organizations have full support. We're hoping that this is the start of looking at those situations more fluidly and looking at them as an opportunity to really put change into the community that we all hope to see. In their report, we saw that in Arizona specifically, we had around just over $250,000 around 2017 that went into organizations led by and serving women and girls of color specifically. And we know that that's not enough, that those communities definitely need support, and we're hoping to make some change about that. And for those of you, my background is in nonprofit leadership and management and in service. So I've been on both sides of the table of this, and I know that the opportunities to be able to get funding for programs, get funding for organizations is really challenging. And we specifically wanted to address some of these issues that organizations have mentioned to us as individuals. I have worked in a couple of other philanthropic positions. So we know that there's a lot of excess administrative work that goes into it. Okay. And that the funding opportunities almost really specifically say they're looking to serve women and girls of color. Funders can be non-responsive to organizations. That creates a lot of frustration, a lot of mistrust, and we're trying to work to alleviate that. Again, we're also looking for ways to serve organizations in the work that they're doing, not trying to create a box, create something for them to be doing to get funding. And we want to really trust the organizations that are serving women and girls of color, that are led by women and girls of color, to do the work, because they are the experts to be able to serve their communities best. A big piece of the work that we did to start this fund was actually asking folks. I spent some time with people in organizations, 19 organizations, about 32 different people. We did focus groups and some one-on-one conversations to really kind of dig into what it is. What does the landscape look like here in the state of Arizona with organizations that are led by women and girls of color, and also some organizations that serve women and girls of color but may not be led by them. So we did really do a little bit of a dive in, and what we've developed is this fund really comes from what we heard, what we know to be some of the best practices out there, and we're hoping to establish some new best practices that are particular to our state. And we really want to move forward and let women and girls of color know, let us know that there is philanthropic support and they have full support in being able to serve their communities. The biggest things I got from the organizations, the needs of women and girls of color, was visibility. Actually being able to see themselves represented in the organizations. And this came from both organizations that were led by and serving women and girls of color, and those that were not necessarily led by folks of color. Safe spaces was another one, and it was actually physical spaces, places for women and girls of color to come together, to learn, to heal, to grow, and to develop, and to really plan for a vibrant future. And that's one of the main things we are really hoping to be able to offer. And then sustained support. We know that annual giving, small grants has been kind of a trend in philanthropy, and we're trying to look for ways to give them sustained support to help them become self-sustained as organizations, so that those organizations can move forward and help the people that they work with be more sustained. And this was across the board. I doubt that this is very surprising to anyone. This is some things that we know, but we're really listening to the organizations and the people in the community that we serve and that we want to serve. And we're really building this fund and the whole program here around these themes. The other things, we listen to themes around organizations. Coming from that nonprofit background, I know the hustle that it takes to get funding, to get seen. So things that we heard were being able to support organizations for more than 1 year. We'll be able to do that, to invest in bricks and mortar spaces, to have those physical spaces. We know that property and space is a really big piece to women and girls of color feeling fully supported. Providing general operating support for BIPOC-led organizations, and also looking at an accelerator model and a full technical support model. That will be one of the benefits of this grant, and we are really listening to the organizations we spoke to in order to develop these next few things I'll tell you about. So again, all of us, I think, at Women's Foundation come from a background of knowing that a community-led approach is the best approach. And so we're really being intentional with the work that we're doing. We wanted this to be informed by the community. And I, having been on the other side of that grant writing table, wanted to ensure that the grant process is easily accessible. There's not going to be a lot of extra rigmarole. I am here personally. You can pick up the phone and you'll be able to call me, or you can email me. We want to make sure that this is something that folks feel really that they can reach out, and they aren't feeling that they have to code switch or have to jump through hoops in order to access a grant, or in order to learn more about the grant. So it's coming from a very genuine, this comes from my heart, as well as the heart of folks within the Women's Foundation. Eligibility. This is one of those bold choices. As we develop this fund is really specifically for who we state it is for. So it is limited to organizations that are led by and serving women, girls of color. This means that the highest leadership position must be held by a woman of color. We do include our trans and non-binary folks in that category. If there are any questions, please, again, feel free to reach out. You can ask me in chat. You can request a one-on-one. I'm happy to be there. 75% of the organization's decision-making must come from women and girls of color, and be able to demonstrate that they serve 75% or more of the population is comprised of women and girls of color. This is really important because we have found, and the Ms. Foundation also stated that in order to see this type of support and to know that the support is going directly to the community, we need to make sure that we are looking for organizations that are led by women and girls of color. This helps to eliminate a number of challenges to serving the community. It also provides support to organizations that need it the most, that are really looking for bright futures, are looking for innovative solutions for community, and are really having lived experience and able to serve the community that they are serving. So this is probably one of the places where people are going to have some questions. Feel free to put them in the chat, or we can move forward. I'll pause for a moment if there are any questions. I can't fully see everyone, so if you put it in the chat, I can know that someone has a question. Are there any questions on the eligibility so far? Fully clear? Going once? Going, oh, there it is. Thank you, Dina. Does it have to be the executive director? So depending on the organization, so if it is an all volunteer organization, we would want to know that the board chair is a woman or a girl of color. If it is an organization that has an executive director or CEO structure, that person would need to be a woman or girl of color. So that is at the highest level of the organization. It's not at if you're applying for funds for a program, it's not just the program director, it is the organization. And we are doing this, I will address that. We're doing this specifically because we want to see those types of organizations fully supported. Provide clarification on who qualifies as a decision maker under the same. So decision makers are, what does your executive suite look like? What does your officers of your board look like? This can include your financial decision making. This can be your program directors. Looking at your organization's structure, if you have 4 main people that are in those executive level positions, 3 of those people would need to be a woman or girl of color. And we will be in the process having conversations. After I collect the applications, I'll probably do some initial calls with folks just to clarify all of that eligibility. It's really important. because this is a model, as the Ms. Foundation and as several other organizations that are doing initiatives of this nature are finding that that is the best way to ensure that the decision making is coming from the best portion, the best lens to be able to give lived experience, as well as making just forms of decision making within the organization. Does that help with all of those questions? All right. Next. All right. The funds are, the grant awards would be up to $65,000, and these the funds will be unrestricted. So that is what we find to be one of the best models to support organizations, is to trust them to be able to do work. We will have conversations about where the funds are going, but it'll be a little less, you won't have to submit a programmatic budget to really give details. This also allows you to be able to pivot and to be able to use the funds as the organization needs them. This is one way that we are expressing trust-based philanthropy, and that is something we also know is a necessity, specifically with all nonprofit organizations, but really with organizations that are led by folks of color, is really knowing that you, as a philanthropic organization, trust them. There'll be renewable multi-year funding, so we'll be looking at it on an annual basis. Our hope is to be able to support organizations for more than 1 year. We are in our pilot phase, so we are in some ways building bits and pieces of this as we go. So we will know more about that as we go. It will be also some statewide networks building. One of the pieces of comment that I got when I was doing the focus groups was, one of the pieces of feedback was being able to have conversations with more folks and being able to connect. We know that there can be a bit of a scarcity model when it comes to philanthropic dollars, and we want to be able to help people build support within the networks of people instead of building more competition, because we know when people are able to feel comfortable and to build those networks of support, we see greater change. Technical support will be based on need. This is one of the places where I'm really excited. Over the next year, I will be working with the organizations in our first cohort to find out what they need. So it's not a, you will have financial training, you will have board and executive management. We're actually gonna sit down and build it out. My goal is to recruit a cadre of experts and with all of them really support organizations in the way that they really need the support. So we'll be looking at that. And you'll be supported by submitting a report to helping us as an organization create better practices. This is a, as Catherine said, a research-based organization, and we're a learning organization. So we are really going to be utilizing our internal knowledge as well as the knowledge and experience of our nonprofit partners, and we really do mean that we are in a partnership in this way. So we will be really focusing on how to build a strong support system for organizations led by and serving women and girls of color in our state. Any questions on that? And I saw there was a comment. And Dina, thanks for your comment. Thank you. Please do spread the word. We know we are, it seems a little bit limited, but we are really truly in this for the long haul and in it to win it for these communities. So we do have these very specific desires for organizations that we're supporting in this way. Application. How, I'm going to put us on, I'm going to look a little bit bigger. How many folks are familiar with Common Grant application? Throw a quick thumbs up in your reactions if you're familiar with Common Grant application. Got a couple. Okay. See a handful of folks. Good. So Common Grant application, I have another question. Yes, fantastic. So many of you will be familiar with Common Grant application. It's an online platform. You, as a first-time user, you'll need to make an account. The link here, we'll send this out afterwards. The link that we have here will take you to the application. If you are a new user, you'll need to create an account. If you have an application, if you have a existing account, you'll be able to go in and start the application. You'll start the draft. The one fun thing about Common Grant application is if you are currently working one application, you have to save and close that application in order to be able to work on another one. So that's the one kind of funky thing about that. We do have a how-to video on the website. I want to give us more time for questions. If you'd like to stay at the end, I'll play the video for you to be able to see how to open it. But this is a pretty easy and low barrier application site. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me or you can reach out to Catherine. There's definitely someone within the Women's Foundation staff that can help you with that. All right, I want to give a big shout out to my advisory committee. As you can see, our advisory committee is all women and girls of color. And that is not something you see very often, but it's something that we're really excited to have. These are some amazing, amazing folks that run a wide berth of different careers and backgrounds. We have folks that represent Southern Arizona, Central Arizona, and Northern Arizona, because it's really important to us to make sure that we are reaching out, as this is the first fund that the Women's Foundation will have that's statewide. We felt it was really important to make sure that we had support, and we have community partners all throughout the state. They are some of the best people you'll ever meet. I am so, so, so grateful to be able to work with all of them. And yeah, if you have any questions for me or you want to know more about them, their bios will be on our website coming up soon. We're getting all of that up there for you to learn a bit more about these fantastic people that are going to be helping us out. Timeline. So our application opened on July 15th. It'll close on August 12th. And that time we'll start to do our eligibility checks and our first level reviews. We will be doing applicant interviews in mid-September. So you may hear from me with eligibility questions at mid to late August. And then by mid-September, we'll be letting folks know who's going to move forward to that interview session. We will decide how many folks will be moving forward. And then our grant award notifications go out in October, and then we will have a fantastic year. If you are a current Women's Foundation applicant or a partner, you have to make sure that we won't be able to give you funds until everything is closed out for other grants, or making sure that you're in a positive status with your other grants. And then we'll need to make sure that we get all our paperwork and all of our documentation with the award letters in order to be able to disperse those funds to you. So I'm going to take us out of the share mode and open it up for questions. And if you have questions, please feel free to put your video on. We'd love to be able to see a face with any questions that we have. You have questions for myself, you have questions for Catherine, and if you need translation, please make sure to reach out to Melissa. She's here and available for us. I'm not that good. Come on, y'all.
Hi, thank you all so much for this really informative presentation and for offering this funding opportunity. I wonder if you could speak a little bit more to what reporting requirements are likely to be, so frequency of reports and what they are likely to entail.
Thank you. That is a fantastic question. One of the first things we'll do is my goal is to have regional gatherings. And the Women's Foundation collects funds or not funds. Well, they do collect funds to be able to give them out. They collect data on their nonprofit partners in order to help with their policy. They have done some amazing things. So part of the reporting will, at the beginning, be some of that data that will help them with their policy work. Beyond that, we are still in the structuring of the reporting. I can tell you as a data enthusiast and someone that loves to create forms but not necessarily love to fill them out, it's not going to be something that's onerous, and it's going to be collecting of information that's going to help advance our work, not just collecting stuff to collect it. So one of the things we have been discussing is looking at capacity assessments for organizations and how we can help advance their capacity throughout the year. There are some demographic things, there are some numbers things, but that has a lot more to do with how we tell the story of the organizations versus just collecting information for the sake of collecting information. Frequency, it will be likely that beginning data points that will really help to inform the Women's Foundation's policy, some capacity assessment. And then as we look at the capacity assessment and the needs of the organizations, we'll be looking more at the ways that the organization is growing and what the organizations need and the effectiveness of this model versus just the rigmarole. So I hope that answers it. I hope it's satisfactory. I am really excited to build this and to build it with our partners. Like I said, we are in a partnership with this. This is true partnership. We're actually going to talk to you all and ask you what's important, and we'll build it from there. So it's a very different model from what you might see with other organizations, because we are looking at, we're trying to shake things up. And so we're really looking at what's important and how we can benefit organizations rather than burden them with our need for reporting. I wish I could say we didn't have to report, but we're not there yet. So we're at least going to do what we can.
That's great. Thank you so much. Really innovative.
Hi, I have a question. Hi. It's related to what Ari was talking about, I guess. When you talked about funding and how that works, the funding is open, is really, it's completely supportive of what the organization needs, and it's not program specific. Is that what I heard?
Yes,
okay.
And I promise it's not too group. It's not a joke. It's not a bait and switch. Women's Foundation has been doing unrestricted funding for some time now. And we know that that's one of the best practices to help build trust and also help to build the full sustainability in organizations. So I have done programmatic grants and they are wonderful. But to look at an organization, we're looking at the holistic view of the organization. So we know that some organizations that we want to support will need funds to get more staffing, to be able to attract the talent that they need to advance their missions. We know some organizations will need to keep the lights on. We know that some organizations will want to focus on professional development. We know some organizations will need to invest in their bricks and mortar. So what we're offering is unrestricted funding that you don't have to tell us exactly where you're funding, where every dollar is going to go. We will be looking at your organization's financials. We'll be looking at your budget, your profit and loss. We want to make sure that we are helping to support healthy organizations financially. but we're not going to be restricting the way that you can spend the funding. We trust you. We're not saying wild out. We're also, we know that there is some risk in that, but we know that this is the right type of risk and the right type of investment. We're really investing in your organization versus handing out. I guess that's the best way for me to say it.
Okay, so that means that you support a certain amount of agility. Like if you know you see things changing, can move things around.
Yeah, we know that folks in organizations know what they need. So if we were to just give you programming funding and something happens that your facility is, you can't do your programming in your facility, we're not going to hold you to like, well, we only said you could do it for that programming. You can, we do it in a 10 box. Like, we're not going to do that to you.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? I see Valentina. You've popped up on my screen. Hello.
You've answered my question. I just wanted FaceTime.
Hello. I see you. I'm sorry. I have been really wanting to watch Avatar again, everyone. Are there any other questions? Going once, going twice. Does anyone want to see the video on how to apply? Give me a thumbs up in your reactions. I will show the YouTube video. Yes, okay. Let me go ahead and pull that up. Give me 2 shakes. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment.
So we're done. We're not watching the video.
Yes, you are.
Okay, well, bye everyone. Have a nice day.
Bye. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
All right.
Welcome to the Women's Foundation of Southern Arizona's Women and Girls of Color Applicant Tutorial. My name is Lori Mitchell and I'm with the Common Grant application. And this is going to be a brief video showing applicants how to use our site to apply for a grant. Currently you're looking at the dashboard. This is a page you land on after you log in.
Can you all hear the video?
In order to log into your account for the first time, you'll need to register. You can register by either going to www.commongranapplication.com and clicking on the green applicant icon, or you can go to the Women's Foundation of Southern Arizona's website and click on the link there. When you're logging in, you're asked if you'd like to go directly to the application or to the dashboard. If you chose the dashboard and you're ready to start, just click on Start Draft Application. Multiple grant makers use the Common Grant Application site to receive and manage grants, so find the Women's Foundation of Southern Arizona and click on Select Program next to their name. Right now they have 2 programs or applications open, the Annual Grant and the Women and Girls of Color. So you're going to want to click on Start Draft App next to the Women and Girls of Color application. You're now in the draft application. On the left-hand side there are tabs. These are the different pages you need to go through in order to submit your application. The first page is the grant description page. You want to scroll down and read all the information. When you're done, you can use the arrows to move forward or backward. You can also jump ahead by clicking on the tabs on the left-hand side. So we're now on the organization information page. Any field with a red asterisk means it is required. If there's no red asterisk, it is optional. You cannot submit this application until you fill out all of the required fields. So after you've finished this page, again, you can use the arrows to move forward. The next page is the narrative proposal. This page has text boxes. So for example, the first question about history allows 5,000 characters. As you type, you can see the character count goes down, letting you know how many characters you have left. Spaces are included as characters. Some browsers allow you to grab the bottom right-hand corner of the text boxes and drag them to make them bigger. You can also cut and paste your answers from other programs such as Microsoft Word into these boxes. The next page and the last page is the general information page. This also has some text boxes and input boxes. At the bottom, you need to upload documents. These are all required documents. Again, if you don't fill out all the required fields and upload all the required documents, you cannot submit this application. So for example, if I want to upload my 990, I click on the upload button next to that. I click on choose file, I select the file, and I select save. It will then be attached to my application. The last page, which I'm going to go to now, is the same as the preview check application page, which there's a button on every page to access. I have a big red not ready for submission. Clearly I did not fill out all the required fields or upload all the required documents. So there's a reason table below. So for example, on the organization information page, my first name is empty. I can click on the link here or here to go back to the page and correct it. Once everything that is required is filled out or uploaded, it doesn't matter what page you're on, this button here, Submit Application, will turn green. You can submit your application by clicking on the button. You will receive an application number on the screen. You will receive an email confirmation, and you will also be able to find a copy of your submitted application under your Grants tab off of the dashboard. You can download your draft version of this application as well if you'd like to work at it offline by clicking on this button. You do not have to finish this application in one sitting. Every page has a button called pause. If you click pause, you will pause out of the application. You can log out in the upper right hand corner, and when you log back in, you see you'll have a resume draft application link on your dashboard. If you click on that, it'll take you right back to on the page that you paused out of. If you click Exit Draft Application, you do not lose any work that you've entered. You've just removed that you've been working on the draft. If you did that by accident, just click on Start Draft App, select the Women's Foundation of Southern Arizona, and go back into the Women and Girls of Color application. If you have any questions for the Common Grant application, please do not hesitate to contact us. Good luck with your application.